DiJonai Carrington is looking around the room like, oh my God, I've never been in this much fire. I mean, it's getting so bad that now her endorsements are potentially about to pull out on representing DiJonai Carrington.
This just goes to show that DiJonai has no self-awareness in what's going on. DiJonai Carrington runs on threads immediately. White privilege at Indiana Fever. White privilege. You running around with blonde hair. It look like you trying to be white. It look like you trying to be a white girl. What are you talking about white privilege? The white girl just got a technical foul for something she didn't even do. What are you talking about white privilege, bro? This is why she should be banned from the league. They always run.
It states here, Reebok is reportedly dropping their endorsement for DiJonai Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Let's go.
DJ Carrington just watched her entire career begin to unravel within the span of 1 week. And the wildest part is that she caused almost all of the damage herself. This isn't a story about a referee making a terrible call or a league unfairly targeting one player. This is a story about a hard foul that could have disappeared after a single news cycle, music, and then somehow transformed into a full-blown reputation crisis because of the decisions Carrington made in the hours and days after it happened.
When this young lady got ejected from a WNBA game the other day for a flagrant foul on Sophie Cunningham. Did y'all see that? She got ejected from the game for that flagrant foul right there. And I'll be damned if that wasn't a flagrant too. She mugged her. Damn near came across like decapitating her, for crying out loud. That was definitely a hard foul. Make no mistake about it. Nobody can argue about it. You can say what you want. We know what we saw. No way around it. The DiJonai Carrington foul was clearly unnecessary. It was a flagrant foul penalty too. It was absolutely positively correct call. It was called the flagrant two. That's a flagrant two every single damn time in the NBA and the...
Late in the first quarter of a nationally televised matchup between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever, Sophie Cunningham sprinted down the court on a fast break for what should have been an effortless layup. Instead, DJ Carrington came from behind and struck her across the head and neck, sending Cunningham crashing hard to the floor. Officials reviewed the play, and the call was upgraded to a flagrant foul penalty too, the kind reserved for contact the league considers unnecessary and music excessive. Carrington was immediately ejected, and the broadcast cameras captured music, her walking away with an expression that suggested she already knew this incident was going to follow her around for a music.
Tweeted out white privilege from the locker room of a game that she was playing in. Get this, she fouls Sophie Cunningham hard. Sophie Cunningham, obviously a white person, fouls her hard. Flagrant two, gets ejected, goes to the locker room and tweets out white privilege in the middle of the game. Now here's the kicker to me. A flagrant two has to be contact that can lead to an injury that looks excessive. DiJonai, it was about as excessive as possible. If there was any evidence of there being white privilege.
Now, here's where DJ Carrington had a choice to make. And she made the wrong one almost immediately. Minutes after being escorted off the court, before she'd even reached the locker room, she posted, "White privilege," on social media and tagged the Fever directly. No context, no explanation, just two loaded words thrown into a national controversy that already had Cunningham's name attached to it from an unrelated story about transgender athletes in women's sports. Carrington then followed it up by posting the date of the next Sky Fever matchup with a smiley face emoji, which read to a lot of people less like an accident and more like someone deliberately poking the bear.
That this is black privilege, to be totally honest with you, because her posting this white racist comment right after assaulting Sophie Cunningham on the court is actually black privilege, because she knows the WNBA won't do a single thing of significance about it. And imagine if the roles were reversed. If Sophie made a comment similar to this, then she'd likely never play again. And actually, we just saw this from Coach Sandy Brondello. She got disciplined for making, I believe, a pretty innocent, maybe, offhand comment about talking about Angel Reese and saying that she's a protected species. She was suspended and disciplined. And I think if that's the standard, then DiJonai...
Think about the optics of that sequence for a second. A player gets ejected for a flagrant foul, and instead of taking a breath, she immediately reaches for one of the most loaded phrases in the modern cultural conversation and fires it off with zero explanation. Whatever she actually meant by it, and she'd go on to give 3 different answers about that in the days that followed, the first impression it left on millions of people was that she was suggesting the officiating crew punished her because of race. That's an enormous accusation to make, even implicitly. And once it's out there, you can't fully, take it back, no matter how hard you try to explain it afterward.
Some sort of bizarre PR strategy to attract eyeballs, or is the WNBA fundamentally broken?
No. That's you because you're a good person trying to find some kind of rational reason for doing this other than what it is. It's pure and simple racism and hate. They're mad that the best player in the league is a heterosexual white woman. Let's just be honest. She's not one of the confidants in their creed. And so therefore it's been a concentrated effort to go after her. Even her head coach doesn't stand by. So, and I think it's hilarious, and at the same time, they don't know what a woman is. And I'm very proud of Freedom and other gentlemen for finding out who they are. And I wish them the best. And hopefully the league will, since it's an all-tolerant league and their head coaches wear shirts about trans women count. Well, here's two. And I hope they give them their opportunity. And the young lady in France as well. So I think it's a league that has got away with being racist and disgusting to people. And now Americans are smart to it. So hopefully they get some of their own, but I wouldn't.
That post didn't stay contained. It spread across basketball social media within hours, and it stopped being a story about a hard foul and became a story about racial intent and whether Carrington was using a serious phrase to excuse a dirty play. This is where her entire situation started spiraling, because instead of the conversation being about a flagrant foul that could happen to anyone, it became about whether DiJonai Carrington had just accused the officiating crew, and by extension the league, of bias with zero evidence to support it. National outlets picked it up. Sports talk shows debated it the following morning. And none of that coverage was really about basketball anymore.
Paying attention to what DiJonai Carrington did to Sophie Cunningham, it was not a race-based decision. And to call that a white privilege-based foul is to completely undermine the term of white privilege and to also completely ignore the rules in basketball. You hit her in the head, you drew blood, you didn't connect with the ball at all whatsoever. So to me, it was just very ignorant and to some degree asinine by DiJonai Carrington to suggest that that call was based on white privilege. Have we seen examples of white players make that same foul and get away with it? Yes. Have we seen examples of black players make that same foul and get away with it? Yes. There was no white privilege involved in that specific call. DiJonai, you hit her in the head and you...
Then the backlash found a face. Former NFL player and media personality Emmanuel Aiko went on his own show and torched the post directly. You hit her in the head. You caused bleeding. You didn't touch the ball at all. Aiko said, calling it very ignorant, and in his words, asinine to frame that specific foul as a product of white privilege. That's a heavyweight in sports media, on camera, using words like ignorant and asinine about a WNBA player days after her ejection. That's not some random internet troll. That's someone with a real platform putting Carrington's judgment on trial in front of a massive audience. And once a clip like that starts circulating, it becomes the sound bite that follows a player around far longer than the original foul ever would have on its own. And here's where DiJonai Carrington tried to backtrack, except the way she did it made things worse instead of better. Rather than calmly clarifying her original post, she fired back at Aiko directly on X.
Game for the rest of the season counts, and the fact that she let her hate and her ego cost the game for her entire team is so toxic. It goes to show that she has very little respect for her teammates because they all work their absolute asses off. They've all got something to prove. They know that, they started the season with all this hype. They didn't kick it off very strong. And so they have all been working their asses off, coming together, playing patiently. When I say patiently, they've been playing patiently, learning how to actually run the court together. There's a lot of new pieces. There's been some injuries. There's been people returning from injury. There's been a lot of changes. The fact that they were just on the rise, and as a Fever fan, I can say they were actually schooling us in the first quarter. They came back when we were up 8 points. DiJonai herself was bawling out, and she just cost the game for her.
Writing. I've never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. Try exercising your critical thinking skills. I know you studied psych. She kept going, adding that she was the last thing from ignorant on the subject, name-dropping her education at Stanford and insisting she'd never use a phrase like that as what she called a rhetorical weapon without evidence behind it. She's simultaneously claiming she never meant it that way, while also defending her right to use the phrase and mocking the guy who criticized her. That's not clarity. That's confusion dressed up as confidence. And it left almost nobody satisfied. Music, not the people defending her, and not the people going after her. If anything, it added a second controversy on top of the first one, because now the story wasn't just about the original post. It was about how combative and unclear her response to basic criticism had been. Fans who might have given her the benefit of the doubt, Music, after the foul itself, started souring on her here in this exact exchange, because it read less like someone correcting a misunderstanding and more like someone trying to win an argument. She'd already lost the moment she hit send on the first post.
White privilege after getting tossed from the game, but says it wasn't about the foul. Can you explain this?
No, I can't. When she tweeted white privilege, she did it so quickly, it was almost as though she had the phone in her pocket after this foul and she got ejected. So, I mean, to say she wasn't referring to this play or getting kicked out and saying that the only reason she got kicked out and it got upgraded is because Sophie Cunningham is white is crazy. It was a crazy thing to tweet, maybe crazier than to try to act like it had nothing to do with the play. So I have no idea what she's talking about. I don't think anybody can have any idea what she's talking about.
2 days later, standing in front of reporters before Chicago's game against Seattle, Carrington tried version 3 of the explanation. This time, she said the foul itself was unfortunate and unintentional, blaming Rust from coming back off a foot injury for the timing being off. On the post itself, she got vague again, saying only that she'd already spoken to the people who have the potential to have the agency to make the change she wants, without ever explaining plainly what the tweet actually meant or who she was talking about. 3 different explanations in 3 days, a hard foul that was just her competitive nature, a viral post about white privilege that apparently wasn't about the foul, and a follow-up tweet defending the very post she now says had nothing to do with any of it. That kind of moving target is exactly what turns a bad week into a bad reputation. Because reporters, fans, and brand partners all noticed the same thing at the same time, nobody could pin down a consistent story from her. And every new attempt to explain it just opened up another question nobody had asked yet.
Oh my God, it's getting real. It is getting very much real. For in the field, for them pockets. That's what I like to see. Pockets getting hit hard, bro. Hard. Because somebody need to hold these players accountable for the stupidity they have been putting out. Because it has been a lot of stupidity. And to add even more insult to injury, thousands of people are calling for Reebok to drop their endorsement for DiJonai Carrington after she attacked Sophie Cunningham. Now this was from earlier this.
Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham did the one thing that made Carrington look even worse by comparison. She stayed composed. Asked directly about the post after Indiana's win, Cunningham said simply, "I believe the league is addressing that. This has nothing to do with race. Last year, I experienced a similar incident and was ejected, which I deserved. There's no reason to even bring race into this." No shouting, no demands, just a calm reminder that she'd been on the other side of a flagrant foul before, Music, and accepted her own punishment without complaint. That contrast, one player staying level-headed and one player scrambling through 3 different explanations, is exactly the kind of split-screen moment that sponsors and franchises pay very close attention to. It's not really about who's right on the specific basketball play anymore at that point. It's about who looks like they can handle pressure, and who looks like they're making a bad situation worse every single time a microphone gets put in front of them. Cunningham comes out of that exchange looking like the adult in the room. Music, Carrington comes out of it looking like she's still trying to figure out what she even wants to say.
Black people do some foolishness. They gotta be held accountable just like any other damn race. And I'm telling you right now, she need to be held accountable. So Reebok, stick it to her. Stick it to her. Because what she did was ruined a brand deal like no other. She ain't even all that on the basketball court anyways. Common sense would have told you not to clothesline Sophie Cunningham from hell. Because you want to know why? The backlash you're going to get from that decision will affect your pockets. And I'm so happy that these brands are now seeing what we've been seeing. A whole lot of BS going on from these players. And I'm telling you right now, more players need to lose brand deals when they do stupidity, especially.
And that brings us to the part of this story that's actually threatening DJ Carrington's livelihood. Reebok signed Carrington to a multi-year deal back in April of last year, making her the face of their basketball relaunch alongside the Engine sneaker. It was a big deal at the time, built on her most improved player and all-defensive first-team honors, and it positioned her as one of the league's rising commercial faces heading into this season. But the moment this controversy hit, fans started flooding Reebok's pages directly with posts saying things like, "Reebok needs to cancel DJ Carrington's endorsement deal immediately," calling the whole sequence a cheap shot followed by music, an excuse that never landed. That kind of direct pressure campaign matters more than people realize. Brands monitor their comment sections closely during moments like this. And when negative comments start drowning out everything else being posted about a signature shoe, music becomes a business problem, not just a public relations annoyance.
After getting thrown out of the game for her ridiculous foul on Sophie Cunningham, went to social media and claimed white privilege. Do that. Emmanuel Acho basically pushed back and said you can't call everything white privilege, it undercuts the idea so many have talked about. And then DiJonai went to X and responded to Emmanuel Acho. He said, "I never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. Try exercising your critical thinking skills. No, you studied psych. Furthermore, I'm the last thing from ignorant or asinine when it comes to speaking on white privilege. Do your research on that one. Actually went to school, one of the top universities, might I add, to educate myself on this exact subject. I would never use that term as a rhetorical weapon, knowing the historical and social weight it holds without having the proper evidence to substantiate it. So, in your face, Annual. What I want to know is, then why were you posting white privilege in the locker room immediately after being ejected? What were you? Randomly sitting in the locker room having just been ejected, thinking about when you posted white privilege, and by the way, tagged the Indiana Fever.
And according to multiple reports now circulating, Reebok is doing exactly what those fans were asking for, reportedly moving to terminate its deal with Carrington entirely, music, rather than risk remaining tied to a controversy this messy. Think about what that actually means for a brand. Companies do not walk away from a signed athlete deal lightly. There are contracts, there are marketing plans already built around that face, and there's real money already spent. For Reebok to reportedly be pulling out this quickly tells you how badly their internal read on this situation is going. They wanted distance, and snorts, they wanted it immediately, because every extra week a brand stays attached to a controversy like this is another week their own name gets dragged into headlines, music, they never asked to be part of.
She needs to go to jail immediately.
You would have to believe it's going to be up
no
for you
pass,
for
go straight to jail. This is assault, right? This is assault. Now let me tell you something. This is assault. She needs to go to jail. Premeditated. Go to jail. Go to jail. She needs to be arrested. Go to jail. I want her in jail. I want her in jail. She should never touch her. Nah, can't do it. All right, we already know the WNBA is in a position right now. You need to make an example of that Don Imus. That Don Imus needs to be made an example of. That Don Imus needs to be made an example of. She needs to go to jail for assaulting Miss Cunningham. She needs to go to jail.
Here's the truth nobody wants to say plainly. So let's say it, none of this had to happen. A flagrant foul happens in basketball. Players get ejected, they take the fine, and they move on. And a week later, nobody remembers it outside of a highlight reel. That's not what sunk DJ Carrington. What sunk her was everything that came, music, after the whistle. The instant post tagging the Fever with a loaded phrase and zero context. The smiley face pointing toward the next matchup like she was already looking forward to, music, round 2. The combative response to a critic instead of a clean, early clarification, and then a press conference that offered a third version of events instead of a straight answer. Every one of those moments was optional. Nobody forced her to hit send on that first post. Nobody forced her to swing back at Aiko with a tone that read more like a debate win than damage control. And when a brand is watching all of that unfold in real time, trying to decide whether to keep paying an athlete to represent their shoes, that pattern matters more than the original foul ever did. Sponsors do not sign athletes hoping for controversy management. They sign athletes hoping the athlete stays out of headlines that force the brand to answer questions it never wanted to answer.
Black privilege for a second. Doing something completely wrong and unethical, and instead of taking responsibility, pulls out the race card and acts like a victim. Yeah, that's what we just witnessed here. The sheer lack of accountability on DiJonai's end, that was so intentional. Look at DiJonai staring at Sophie's head the whole time, and look at her reaction after. That's anger. A normal reaction would be to ask if Sophie was okay or immediately apologize. But instead she shoves her. The audacity to go and cry wolf and pull out the fake victim card and scream white privilege. All the while making Sophie Cunningham bleed as a result to her actions. People are tired of everything being blamed on race. I wouldn't be surprised if DiJonai did this in response to Sophie Cunningham coming out vocally in response to protecting women in women's sports. This was not white privilege. Under DiJonai's definition of white privilege, here's some more white privilege. Getting ejected from the game was called consequences to actions. And DiJonai should be thankful that an ejection is all that happened, because she ought to be suspended from the entire.
There's also a jealousy angle running underneath all of this that's hard to ignore once you line up the timeline. Cunningham has spent this entire season as one of the most talked about names in the league, drawing attention from national outlets, attracting huge social followings, and becoming a lightning rod for conversations that extend far beyond basketball. Carrington, by contrast, has had to fight for headlines even during a strong individual season of her own. When two players share that much history on the court, and one of them is constantly at the center of the news cycle, it doesn't take much for old competitive tension to spill into something personal. Whether that's fully what drove the foul or not, the pattern of everything that followed, the immediate accusation, the defensive posture, the refusal to simply let it go, reads a lot more like frustration boiling over than like a clean basketball play gone wrong. Now look at what's actually on the table for her moving forward. A reported Reebok termination is the kind of thing other brands watch closely before deciding whether to get anywhere near a similar deal. Front offices around the league start quietly wondering whether bringing her in creates more distraction than production. Fans who might have been neutral toward her before now have a very specific, very recent reason to boo her every time she touches the ball, on the road. And teammates get stuck answering questions in press conferences about something that has nothing to do with anything they did on the court that night.